Thanks for the great insights into, the cloud security and the challenges that comes up with the cloud, you know. And I believe in these days, the business has shifted tremendously to, from having CapEx to OpEx model. And that's where more and more organizations, they are moving towards cloud. While, like you said, cloud is a good thing, but then it has its own challenges. You always have that shared responsibility model when you operate on cloud. So taking that further, I would like to introduce myself. Myself, Noor Shah from Sophos. I'm a pre-sales engineer looking after Israel as my primary region and have been associated with Sophos for more than 5 years. Now, taking what Moshe just concluded about the cloud challenges, and the security considerations on cloud. Now, let me just introduce you to one of the attack that recently took place. The reason I would like you to introduce to this attack is, basically cloud security is no more or less than what we have it on premise, when it comes to security, right? So about this specific attack, basically this is one of the automotive supplier giant who got attacked thrice, not once, not twice, but 3 times in a span of 2 weeks using one single misconfiguration, and that was firewall rule exposing RDP of an internal server. So in this case, basically the same client, the same victim got attacked thrice, and that too within the duration of just 2 weeks. And it all happened because of the misconfiguration. Moshe mentioned, about the misconfigurations on cloud and how it can just create havoc on the organizations and how the shared responsibility model works on cloud. So attacks on cloud are no more, different than attacks on premise. They are more or less same. Moreover, on cloud, you need to be more sophisticated. You need to make sure that you are more vigilant and so on. So proceeding ahead with this particular example, you know, over here, the first attack took place via an organization or a group called Lockbit. Now they got access to the victim's network and then exfiltrated data to mega cloud storage services. Then they used tools like Mimikatz to extract passwords, dump the passwords, and finally they distributed ransomware using a legitimate tool called PSExec. Now, PSExec is actually a legitimate lightweight Microsoft tool that lets you execute process on the systems. So here, you know, along with some malicious signals, malicious tools, they also used the legitimate tool set. Another group called Hive, they used the same misconfiguration, and then they used RDP to move laterally into the organization and establish persistence. And within just 2 hours of Lockbit scenario, they dropped their ransomware and crippled the victim. So the second attack took place just within 2 hours of the first one. And then came the third wave of an attack. A group called RV or Black Cat, they used a simple remote access legitimate tool called Atera agent to establish persistence and then exfiltrated the data. And just within 2 weeks of the Lockbit and Hive attacks, they executed their own ransomware and destroyed all the traces by clearing the Windows event log. So, the point I'm trying to make over here is like attackers, they are also getting more and more sophisticated. No longer they are just relying on malicious tools. They are using legitimate tools which might get unnoticed or, which might need some more intervention in order to find out whether anything malicious is happening. Now, this is just one of those attacks. We also seen recent attacks on Uber, right? So attackers are getting sophisticated, and as defenders, we also need to make sure that we are at par with the attackers or at par in the security landscape. Moreover, ransomware is showing no signs of slowing down. More and more organizations are getting targeted via ransomware. Every year, the percentage of ransomware attacks keeps on increasing. Now, if you just take a look at the quick comparison that you can see on the screen, in 2020, there were around like 37% of organizations that were part of the survey got hit by ransomware. In 2021, the number rose up to 66, almost doubled. And on an average, it took around 1 month of time for an organization to recover from the attack. Now, there were some organizations who never knew that they were attacked, or who never knew that they have some sort of adversaries in their network. Plus, on an average, the ransomware amount, it shoots up to US $1.4 million in 2021. So you can see the amount of damage done by ransomware in this cybersecurity landscape. It literally shows no signs of slowing down. So when attackers are getting more and more sophisticated, when they are getting, more and more, uh, when they are using more and more legitimate tools to just go unnoticed, it makes sense for us to deploy a solution that acts in layered manner. Now, if we just visualize an attack chain or the stages of an attack, basically we can break them down into several stages like delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, behavior. You just cannot do away with a solution, with a protection that just provides, defense at one particular stage of an attack. You need to have a solution that throws stones at attackers, that makes their thing more complicated at each and every stage of an attack. You just cannot stop by having the solution at delivery or maybe at installation phase and then do nothing at other layers. Attackers are getting more and more sophisticated, more and more smarter, and they would do everything to just target your organization. So you need a solution that provides complete layer defense or defense in depth approach. Now at Sophos, how we combat such modern attacks is by providing you with a defense in depth approach. Not only we try to stop attacks at one stage, two stage, but we try to provide coverage for all the stages of an attack. So our endpoint protection solution is a next-gen endpoint protection solution that comes equipped with tools and techniques to provide protection at each and every stage of an attack. So if we talk about delivery layer, we have things like web control, web protection, device control. Then let's say if a threat manages to bypass delivery layer, then we have more technologies and tools in place to provide protection against such threats like IPS, application lockdown, memory mitigations. Further, if threat manages to bypass second layer or second stage of an attack, then we have machine learning, signature-based detection, then application control. Further down the line, we also have controls for detecting credential theft and detecting communications to the command and control center. And if, say, for example, an attacker manages to bypass all these layers of protection, then at last we have anti-ransomware, data loss prevention, and behavior-based analysis. So the point I'm making is like you need to have a solution that provides protection at each and every stage of an attack. And this is where Sophos provides an edge. I mean, not only we try to stop threat at one particular layer, but then we try to stop threat at each and every layer. Right? However, all that said, there is no absolute protection in this world. No vendor in this world will claim that their solution can provide 100% protection from threats, because the threats are ever evolving, and they would try everything in their power to skip or to sniff through the defense systems. So there is no silver lining bullet in this particular cybersecurity industry. Earlier times, customers used to have traditional signature-based detection, but that was not enough. And then there came the use of next-gen antivirus or endpoint protection with anti-ransomware technology. But is that enough in today's world? We just saw one example of an attack where not only malicious tools were used, but along with that, legitimate tools were also exploited. So is it enough to just cover up your defenses using the protection like next-gen AV or anti-ransomware? Well, actually, it is not enough. And hence, you need detection and response, or what we call it's like endpoint or extended detection and response tools. Now, those tools, they help you to identify signals. They help you by providing you a mean to hunt out for the threats, proactively perform threat hunting, proactively dig into your environment to find out the signals which might look suspicious. And hence, you need extended detection and response or endpoint detection and response tools as well, along with the protection, right? Now, while traditionally, if we talk about the traditional EDR or XDR tools, basically they lack at prevention. So they do not have good protection technology in place. Now, this allows for more threats to sneak into, and hence it creates more noise for the traditional EDR to operate. So if you look at the gap in when it comes to the traditional EDR, because they have weaker protection, the gap, it grows big. But with Sophos, because our XDR is built on top of the solid protection tool, the gap is extremely small. Hence, there is more meaningful data into the EDR, into the XDR, so that you can perform threat hunting. You can hunt out for malicious signals much quicker, and that too more specifically. Now, XDR not only ingests data from endpoint and server, but it also provides visibility into your network, email, mobile, or cloud traffic. Now, like Moshe mentioned, in cloud, you need several types of solutions in order to provide protection. You need things like CWPP cloud workload protection, then you need CIAM, CSPM tools, and lots of stuff. So basically, you need thorough visibility into your cloud platforms as well, and not just on your on-premise systems. So when you need thorough visibility, you cannot just afford to have EDR that provides visibility onto endpoints or servers. You need to have an extended detection and response tool that provides visibility into endpoint servers as well as into your firewall traffic, email, mobile devices, clouds, and everything, right? So the more data you have, the more visibility you have, better your chances of detecting a malicious signal. However, we must note that XDR is still a tool and it needs people to manage. And when we talk about, needing expertise to manage tools like XDR, even though the tool itself is easy to operate, but then you need to have humans who can correlate the signals and then conclude whether the detection is malicious or not. And this is where we will just pause for a while and would take an analogy or an example of an alarm system to understand why only XDR is not necessary, why you need to have an expertise who can operate XDR, and why you need to have human resources, human brains using the tools like XDR. Now let's consider an analogy of an alarm systems. So basically, you all might be having alarm systems in your home, right? Now, how do they work? An alarm can detect something when something wrong happens, like something out of the norm happens. Maybe, for example, someone just smashes the window or someone tries to enter a wrong code, right? Now, all this, they trigger detection and an alarm. But what if someone tries to enter using the right code? If someone just has access to the correct code and they try to enter into your house? What if someone just gets into the house through the open door? Now, all these things are legitimate, like techniques. The, the maybe, encroacher or the person who has the correct code is doing nothing illegitimate because he's getting access using the correct codes. So in a nutshell, these things, they would not trigger the alarm because they are doing legitimate activities. And this is what something, maybe you would do or I would do if we are an attacker. We would try to sneak into an environment using things which are legitimate just to go unnoticed. And this is why, you know, you just don't need tools to stop such type of complicated attacks. The analogy of alarm same applies to the cybersecurity landscape. Like we have seen in the first example of the automotive supplier attack, attackers use legitimate tools. Now, protective tools, they alone cannot stop such type of legitimate signals. So basically, you need something like humans and AI to work in tandem to stop such advanced attacks, right? This is where you need the combination of humans and tools to thwart such sophisticated attacks. This is where we say the SOC as a service is the future. You can create a SOC on your own, but then, like I said, to operate a SOC, it needs expertise. You need to have lots of people. You need to have, the experts certified with several certifications, plus need to have access to certain tools, certain threat intelligence repositories, and so on. So what a normal SOC would look like? A normal SOC would look like this, somewhat like this. There are lots of vendors in the space who provide SOC as a service. Just because you cannot operate SOC on your own because you do not have expertise, or maybe you need assistance from third party, customers these days, they are more and more opting for SOC as a service from the service providers. But then there lies some sort of loopholes when we are trying to rent service from the service providers. Basically, most of the SOC service providers, they use third-party tools. They do not own their own tools. They do not have their own tools. They use tools from third-party sources. Now, while adopting this sort of approach, there lies a gap. When you're using tools from different vendors, there is no tight integration of those tools, and hence more data is there for an analyst to sift through. Plus, to ensure you that the SOC team is working, they are providing you protection, they are looking at your environment, they might just place a resident engineer at your premise to give you a feel good factor, right? Because when we talk about SOC service, visibility is the key. As a customer, we don't know what the service, what the team is doing, whether they are really protecting or not, unless and until you have an active incident. So just to give you an assurance, or just to make you feel good that, okay, there's a team behind you, they might just place a resident engineer at your place, or maybe, they might just allocate you a remote engineer. On top of that, the so-called pop-up SOC centers, what they do, it's like they provide fancy reports, plus they provide, information using the ticketing systems. Now, like I said, all these things, it looks nice, but then there lies the native problem within. Using third-party tools which are loosely integrated, it only creates more noise for the engineers when there is an attack. And when there is an attack, because there is huge amount of data to sift through, and there is there is less accuracy because of the loose integration, it increases the incident response time. This is where Sophos has its advantage. At Sophos, we use our own tools and products. We use our own telemetry data. We have our own Sophos labs that provides threat intelligence, and all of our products are tightly integrated to each other. Now, when the products are tightly integrated into each other, we can have some sort of automated threat containment and response. And at the same time, the products, they share telemetry data amongst themselves, thereby allowing our team to detect and respond much quicker to the threats compared to the so-called pop-up SOC centers. Moreover, the engineers at Sophos are heavily skilled. They are the pros, not in terms of just endpoint or network, but they know the system in and out. They know the uh, incident response in and out. Plus, on top of that, we provide complete visibility into how our team is working. You get all the visibility into whatever our team is doing in your environment right from our Sophos central portal. So you don't even need to call the MTR or the SOC service providers or SOC team at Sophos to find out what is happening. We not only provide you with monthly and weekly reports, but we also have a portal from where you can find out what our team is doing, what actions they have taken, what things they are doing, and so on. This is why we call Sophos provides, Sophos is a modern SOC as a service. Sophos provides modern SOC as a service. Now we have more than 11,000 plus managed detection and response customers who are using our SOC service. Plus, like I said, whenever there's an attack, time to neutralize such attack matters a lot. Now at Sophos, we take on an average of about like 38 to 40 minutes to detect and respond to the threat. So the time from detecting a threat to responding a threat is just under 40 minutes. Now imagine if you would be operating with traditional SOC center, where they have lots of products integrated, and they are getting telemetry from different products which are not tightly integrated. the incident response time obviously increases. Moreover, if we take a look at the Gartner's benchmark, Gartner mentioned that the fastest incident response time from the most of the sophisticated SOC center is 3.7 hours. And the slowest response time for an incident for those SOC centers who do not use proper tools, or who have like loosely integrated tool sets, the slowest response time is 30 hours. While with Sophos, the average response time is 0.6 hours, which is somewhere around like 40 minutes. And like I have been emphasizing from before, that whenever there's an incident, response time is the key. So you get a service from Sophos which is quick enough to ensure that you stay safe and that attacks are thwarted at specific time, right? So whenever you're looking out to outsource SOC service, make sure you look out for the response time, because that is the key. Make sure you look out for systems that integrates with each other tightly, and not just systems which have loose integration. Now, what is Sophos MDR, or Managed Detection Response Service? Basically, like I said, it's Sophos modern SOC as a service. So Sophos MDR provides you with 24/7 ransomware and breach prevention services. Now that service is delivered by a fully managed team of experts. Not only that, the advantages of having Sophos MDR service is that you have someone monitoring your environment 24/7. So we cover you from end to end. Plus our team, they're able to get telemetry from different sources and not just endpoints or servers. Our team can get telemetry from sources like firewall, cloud environment, then mobile devices, and so on. So it allows them to hunt out for the threats more effectively and allows them to contain the threat more effectively. Moreover, we build on your existing protection. So not only, like I said, we leverage signals from Sophos solutions, but we also leverage signals from non-Sophos solutions to provide you with full coverage. Now, this is the key differentiator. While most of the SOC service provider would just notify you instead of taking actions, while at Sophos, we not only notify you, but we react on your behalf. So even if there's a threat, say there's an attack, say for example, during the weekends, and if you choose to opt for traditional SOC centers or traditional SOC service providers, they would, in most of the cases, just notify you. So you still need to take actions. They will not take actions on your behalf. But at Sophos, you choose how you want us to work. Whether you want us to just notify you, or you want us to work with full power and neutralize and contain the threat on your behalf. So this way, you sleep well. You be rest assured that your environment is protected and is being monitored by a team of experts 24/7. Now, let's just take a look at some of the more service offerings from Sophos. Basically, when we talk about things like cloud environment, on-premise environment, it is not only about deploying tools. You still need to have some humans working behind to make sure that you stay protected. Now, we just had a look at one of the service, which is called MDR. Now, MDR is more of a proactive approach. So with MDR, you are basically being proactive. You are trying to prevent yourself from being breached. But what if you are already breached? What do you do? In that case, we also provide incident response service. So we call that service as rapid response. So if you feel that you are under active attack and you need assistance, you can easily enroll Sophos. You can easily enroll for Sophos Rapid Response Service. Now, while other incident responder, they take time even to begin the service. At Sophos, we quickly begin the incident response the moment you give us a go ahead. So if you are under active attack, reach out to Sophos Incident Response Service to get rapid response. Now, if you are under doubt, if you want to check like whether you have been breached or not, or if you feel that you might be under attack, but you are not sure that you are under attack, in that case, you can utilize compromise assessment service. Now, compromise assessment service basically identifies whether you are actually whether you are breached or not. So it basically assesses your environment to find out whether you have been breached or not. So these are some of the offerings from Sophos that basically finds out, that helps you during the time of an attack. Now, like I've been mentioning from the beginning, you do not need a system that just provide protection at several stage or at specific stage. You need a system that covers you up from all the sides. Now, if we just take into consideration about the cloud environment, in cloud environment, like Moshe mentioned, it's a shared security model. As a customer, as a consumer, we do have some of the responsibilities to protect our own data on the cloud. Even the cloud providers, they recommend that you have a firewall in place, you have an endpoint protection, cloud workload protection in place, you have CIEM, CSPM solution in place. Now, this is where at Sophos you get all the you get covered up from end to end. Not only that, we provide protection for endpoints and servers, we also provide protection for your cloud workload. We also provide solution like CSPM, CIEM. Plus, along with that, to top up, you get services from Sophos. You also get network level coverage from our products like firewall, switches, right? So Sophos basically provides you with end-to-end coverage. It covers you up for end-to-end protection. We have firewall in place, we have access points. Now those are like smart access points. We have zero trust ZTNA solution. We have cloud workload protection. We have cloud container image vulnerability assessment solution. So, we cover you from end to end. And on top of that, if you purchase SOC as a service from Sophos, there is a sort of complete protection for your environment. Right? Now you can try our products for free by just going to our website, sophos.com. Now, every product of ours, they are available for free 30 days full trial. And, it's must in this ever-changing threat landscape that you not only deploy solution, say for example, for endpoint or just deploy firewall, but make sure you cover up your defenses, you protect your systems at each and every stage. You need to have a firewall in place, you need to have endpoint server protection in place, you need to have mobile device protection in place, you need to have a secure email gateway. In cybersecurity landscape, the more you have, the less it is. So always make sure that you cover up your defenses in a proper way and that you have someone monitoring your environment 24/7. Thank you so much. That concludes the session from my side. If there are any questions, feel free to post them into the Q&A section and we would be more than happy to answer them.